Mm. Hi, everybody. Just getting set up here. How's everyone doing today? Get this out of the way. Hi, everybody. We're just waiting for... Oh, hi, Hannah. Are you here? Did I send you an invitation? Hold on. When someone joins, anyone can see they're live. How did I do this before? Ah, there we go. Accept. I'm coming, Hannah. Hi, Michelle. Hold on, Hannah. I'm hitting accept, but it's not working. Hi, everybody. When someone joins, like, anyway, I can see they're live. I don't know why I'm having a hard time with this because I've done this before. I don't know if you can see this hand, but I think I just sent you the request. Hold on, guys. Technical difficulty, but no big deal. Anyways, people are joining us. When I did this before, I don't feel like it wasn't this hard. Thanks for the hearts, guys. Mercury retrograde, right? It says you're unable to join, Hannah. I'm going to close this one out. Oh, there you are. Yay. Okay, cool.
There I am. This is such a
so
Mercury
true.
retrograde thing
Yeah.
to happen.
I'm sweating a little bit. I was getting nervous there.
Same. This is my first,
your first live.
Instagram live. So thank you for having me.
All right. So let's get started. Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Thursday. Welcome to the Yoga Corner. I am Shelby Phoenix. If you don't know me, I'm a yoga instructor, mindset coach, and the owner of the Yoga Corner. I guide yoga teachers to overcome self-doubt and break free of limiting beliefs so that they can start their wellness business. This is the second episode in my new series called Yoga Corner Chats. And I interview women in wellness and ask them about their wellness and entrepreneurship journeys. Today, we are joined by Hannah Carbonneau. She's a postpartum doula, a Reiki master, and an intuitive. And Hannah has a really incredible story of healing and motherhood. And I'm excited to have her on live with me today. So without further ado, I want to welcome Hannah. How are you doing today, Hannah?
I'm really good. I'm really excited to be here and share about me. And I love your work, so I admire you. And I think it's never a bad thing to share and collaborate with as many powerful women as possible.
So I was wondering if it's okay. I like to kind of start these interviews and any sort of conversations I'm having like this with just a couple deep breaths so we can get grounded. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
All right. So it's up to you, what's ever comfortable. If you want to close your eyes, and I invite everyone who's watching to join us. Settle into your seat. Let your shoulders drop back, your spine. Empty out all your air. And take a deep inhale through your nose, filling up your chest, letting your belly rise, filling up to your collarbones. And a slow, gentle exhale out your nose. Another full deep breath in. And a slow, gentle exhale. One last deep breath. And release. Whenever you feel ready, come back into this space. All right, I feel a little bit more ready for this now. Awesome.
I do too. That
So
was
the first
beautiful.
thing I would just love is if you would introduce yourself and your business and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a postpartum doula, which is a supportive role that I play in families that are welcoming newborns. And that's usually I serve families that have from newborn, they say 12 to 12 weeks, but we all know postpartum is a lot longer than that. But that's one role that I have. I'm also a Reiki master, so I do Reiki energy healing. And what else am I? And I'm an intuitive, so I can connect with spirit. I can pick up on energies. I can. It's so much bigger than just an introduction, but that would be just an overview. I really did find my intuitive abilities did become stronger when I did become attuned in Reiki 1, 2, and 3 and Master. But I would say I'm also just not only those labels, I'm way more than that, just like all of us are. So I am a lifelong learner. I love to learn. I think my high school quote is the
Yeah,
more
I
you
love that.
know, the less you understand. Um, and so I'm always looking and trying to look at all sides of life, um, be empathetic to people, see people for where they are in their life, not try to talk to anybody out of anything. I don't spiritual bypass anybody. I believe light and dark is all part of life. So I, I guess I'm a good observer, and I my business is my name because I didn't want to put myself in a box. I didn't want to focus on one thing and then, maybe a year, 6 months from now decide, there's something else I want to do. So having ownership of my name and really using that as my identity makes
Yeah.
it feel like I can go anywhere because Hana Carbonneau is never going to change. So, but
Yeah. I
maybe
love
what I
how
share will.
you take
So
all these
that's a little bit
pieces of
about me.
yourself and you've brought them together into your business and like no giving yourself the space to be able to evolve and change as things happen and progress in your life.
Yeah, and I have observed so many people just kind of coming out as being an entrepreneur. This is my first role doing that. I had worked in retail for the majority of my life and customer service. And so this is like me coming out as me and being responsible for what I have. But what I've noticed is a lot of entrepreneurs alongside me have just decided to take away maybe some of the what they thought would be their identity and making it more about the individual. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't been easy to just say, okay, it's me, Hana Carbonneau.
Yeah.
Like it's all like I'm out. It hasn't been all bunnies and rainbows, but I like the idea of not feeling restricted and not fitting into a certain box, and even saying, I am a Reiki master. It still feels a little like I just want my essence and
Yeah.
my energy to come through for people. And so I don't even like having the doula work and my intuitive work. It's like, no, I'm not going to be it's against like my own
Right.
boundaries to be reading people without their permission too. So I don't want to think that it kind of all spills into each other. A lot of the work I've done individually and in my business is a lot of boundary work. I don't know if you can speak to that too, but you have to really flex that and make mistakes and you know, go through those too. So boundary work's been big for me and kind of creating these offerings and
Yeah,
this
I feel
person that I
like
am. So
as an entrepreneur, as you're building your business, you're going through so much self-growth yourself, and boundaries is such a big part of that. You know, boundaries with your like work life, boundaries with clients, like you said, boundaries between maybe different parts of your business. So yeah, I can definitely relate to to that, especially I know for me personally, I don't know if it's like this for you, but before I started my business, boundaries were tough. And when you start your business, you have no choice but to like
yes.
face that head on. um, how has that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, uh, you
Love
know,
it.
to be frank, because I'm
Yeah.
just authentic, it's been really hard. I always, my personality is to keep the peace, to make sure everybody's happy, to please, and really put everybody before me. And so when you start what I consider like healing my own stuff, because that's required when you're serving other people, is to always be doing the work. And so when I decided, I
Yeah,
just
just
lost my
about
thought. Can you ask the question one
that's all
more
right.
time?
Just
I saw
about
my husband's
boundaries and
creeping
kind
on
of
here.
you mentioned how you kind of boundaries has been really hard for you and how that comes into your business.
Yeah, so I think the best resources for me have been mentors and teachers that have walked that path and have been able to share and say, listen, this is what I've been through, and this is how I got here. And I think learning from people that have been through it and have been authentic in that and then can help you along the way, that doesn't mean that I'm going to have issues. I think boundary work is lifelong, but it's definitely been nice to call in groups of people that have been through it
Mm,
or that are going through things and being able to share. Because I think anytime when you're doing this work, it's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. And so you also have to be kind of okay with not being that person when you didn't have boundaries, because you're not liked, you know, or
oh yeah,
accepted the same
so
way when you
true.
start doing
And
that.
I also feel like having mentors or other people who've either gone through it or are going through it, like a group, a support group basically, or people who kind of understand is really important because it can be really, in my experience, it can be kind of isolating to be working from home, starting your business. You know, maybe family and friends don't really understand what you're doing. So I've also found that having like mentors and other people in the same boat is like crucial.
Yeah, and I'll have to say, you feel like you're on an island, but I've I spent a lot of my life hoping somebody would come save me in a way, and I've realized over the
So
last year
true.
you have to be your own advocate. And so yes, it is isolating being an entrepreneur and thinking about your work 24/7, but it is also
Mm-hmm.
up to you to seek out and follow your own inner guide to find the right people. I saw somebody said it's hard finding mentors who have time. That's when it's crucial
Yeah.
to find, you know, a group, you know, maybe start there, start with a group of people that you can connect with, but you also have to put in the work to do that. I guess I'm saying, like, I initially thought, oh, I'm going to have
Mm.
all these entrepreneurs like you know, connecting with me. And you get that, but you don't always get the, it's like we're all doing everything, and I can message you real quick and say, hey, I love what you're doing. But if I'm not taking an extra step, we all appreciate that. But we're also like, sometimes I'll say I get so laser focused on the work I'm doing, I kind of let those personal relationships slide. But it's like you ebb and you flow, and you're just, again, just trying to do your best.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, even
so
like on social media, there are so many other women or people or entrepreneurs who are looking for that support, and I've been happy to see that when I do like reach out or ask questions or find these groups, that people are really receptive. They're like, oh my gosh, I feel the same way, and I'm glad you reached out. Like, even you and I, like, this is our first real conversation, but I feel like, you know, just reaching out to someone and saying, hey, I want to collaborate on something, like, very rarely people have said no, or, you know, felt like I was like intruding on them. Like, I feel like all of us want and need the support.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know. I mean, there's no guidebook, clearly. Maybe there are books, but I don't have the time to read them about entrepreneurship, right? And so it does take some grit from and it's a lot of shadow work, and it's a lot of boundary work, and it's what do they call this little square? Instagram is not going to show you everything. I was just meeting with a few friends, and we were just saying there's just no way you can get the full picture. I mean, I could have been crying right before this, and you would never know. I wasn't, but I'd be honest if I was. And so there's just no way to really get a grasp without getting vulnerable, which has also been something I've been flexing and saying to somebody like-minded, like, I'm having a hard time navigating this. It feels lonely. And I think some of it is kind of supposed to, because the other hard part about this is looking to what others are doing is going to be a challenge. You really have to try to stay focused, and what do they say? Stay in your lane, because we all have so many different things to offer. Even if they look the same, our energy is going to just be so different in delivering that. So yeah.
I was wondering if you might share a little bit about your own wellness journey and kind of how you came into this work. We've
How
got
much
some
time do we
I'm
have?
not in a
No, I'll
rush.
make it short. I don't know. I don't know if I've done an elevator speech on like how I got here, but I'll say that most of when it started, like I have described, has been through motherhood. It was 2012 when I had my first pregnancy and loss. And that was my first experience, which was really, it made me so angry and so upset, because I thought, my mom never told me this was possible. I got that like Dumbo scene of the baby getting delivered, and it almost felt like when my pregnancy was lost, I was just shattered, okay, and just in this really awful place. And I ended up getting pregnant soon after, just kind of numbing through and being like, okay. And having my first daughter was just life-changing. I started looking at my family dynamics, my history, my childhood. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed. I was putting everybody before me. My worth was just as low could be. I loved my child. I didn't have any connections, any problem, connecting with her. I know some people during stressful, postpartums can feel a real disconnection, and that wasn't my case. And then this is going to be very quick because it's a lot, but then I we navigated trying for another child, and then I ended up having a really traumatic, what I would consider a birth at home, but a miscarriage at 12 weeks. And that just, I mean, I came to so many realizations. Like, I kept putting myself, I took it as a sign, but it in such a confusing way, because it was such a big heartache. Anybody who knows, when they get pregnant, even at 4 weeks, 3 weeks, however many weeks, when your body, you already start imagining what your plans are, what hospital, maybe what your baby might look like. And so at any stage, it is just absolutely devastating. And I'll just say that on behalf of anybody who has been, and then some people do actually find relief too, but that wasn't the case for me. So after that really bad miscarriage at home, I knew I had to put myself first. I knew that I was almost using the pregnancy, when I knew it was still okay, as an excuse to kind of put my life on pause. And so then I started navigating, calling in support. So I was going to acupuncture. I was going to hypnotherapy. I don't think I had gone to talk therapy then, but I was reaching out. I was trying to go to support groups, and I was trying to just navigate who I was and what I was doing and why I was here. I mean, it made me question everything. And so then what happened? Then I had explained this in my bio, that I had gone to acupuncture. And, I think about it, when you're at acupuncture, if you've ever had it before, it's like yoga, where you're like feeling so grounded and centered. And I just heard this doula in my head as I'm laying there, over and over and over again. So I went home and I Googled what doula work was. And then I found, it was wild. And I was like, and there was a doula trainer. And again, there's a difference between a birth doula and a postpartum doula. And I felt postpartum doula fit me better. And so I went and I Googled, and there was a training right in Exeter, right near where I live, because I live on the seacoast of New Hampshire. And I was like, okay, all the stars aligned. Here I am, like, trying to figure myself out. And I found, and I've always felt like, almost with the description of a doula, just holding space. And I felt like I was that for my friends. And I felt like I have that kind of personality that a doula has, where you're not going in with your own agenda. You're going in supporting that person in whatever avenue they want to take. We don't insert ourselves in who we're supporting, if that makes sense. So I did the training, and I felt lit up, and I was excited to serve my community in that way. And I still kind of hung around a bit in the customer service realm, and I had lost another pregnancy after that. So I was like, damn, I'm really glad that I didn't put my life on pause. I kept feeling like I was kind of putting my life on pause, if that makes sense. So I then ended up getting pregnant again, and this one stayed, which was great, but it was such it was like I was holding my breath through the whole pregnancy, because I was really scared. I was really, I didn't trust my body. I didn't trust myself. It really kind of brought everything up, maybe, that I hadn't processed, because I did what I thought I had to do. I was like, okay, I'm going to start taking care of me. But then I just kind of went back into almost that dull, like, I'm going to, I was numb. I don't know how else to describe it. Again, it's kind of only if you've had it happen, you know what I'm talking about. So I would say to people, like, I feel like I can't even exhale until this baby is born. And that was really true. And that's a long time, like about 10 months. So anyways, she was born and I was like, okay, she's here. And then what happened within my postpartum period is my self-worth again kind of went down the tubes. And I say this jokingly, but only because I have so much admiration for the person that felt like they weren't even worth an Italian pre-made sub at Market Basket. I was so low after having my other daughter because I hadn't processed everything that I still had work to do that I didn't want to see. And so I was just a wreck. I was like, rather than make my life easy with a newborn and go buy a sandwich and get it made for me, I was like, I'm going to have to go get um, the bread and I'll go get the cheese at the deli and all the meat. And if anybody knows what an Italian sub has in it, it's like capicola. And like, why am I taking that many steps when I could just go over here? And so I have that Italian sub in my head now as like a trophy because I honor that person who was so low that she didn't feel worthy of a sub. And she still woke up every day and tried. And so I can say it kind of like as admiration because I feel like I have come a long way in it's almost my daughter's birthday is going to be next month. So that's been 3 years. So maybe I'll get an Italian sub tattoo. Maybe I'll get a necklace. I don't know, but I have to say that because that's where I was. And then 2020 hit and we all have our own experience with how 2020 was. And so I followed my gut on I had Reiki before in person and several times. And I loved it. I would get like a massage and she would do Reiki energy on me. And I was a willing participant because I really did feel like I am so in tune with energy and I didn't have boundaries around what my energy was and what others were. I felt like everybody's was mine, which if you're listening to this, I would say you're carrying a lot more energy that's other people's than you even know. So okay, so I live my life feeling like this must be all me, and then that just connects for a reason to Reiki. So I kind of emailed a couple. So I kind of was like, okay, it's 2020. I had to be at home with my kids because one of them was online schooling. My husband's a first responder, so he was working like normal. So it was definitely like a heavy load, like a lot of mothers have experienced through this whole pandemic. And I thought, I want to take some time for me. I started after the Italian sub story that I told. I got in therapy. I'm still in therapy because I think it's the best thing for anybody that wants support. I feel like you have to get it everywhere you can. And part of my job too is connecting people to resources, whether you're my Reiki client or my doula client. Like, I feel like I'm a bridge as a person and a connector anyways. So that's part of working with me. But also I practice what I preach. I'm not going to say, I'm giving you all these resources and I'm not trying to take advantage of, the support I can have as being your support. So anyway, so I kind of emailed around to find a Reiki practitioner that was teaching. And through COVID, who knew if you were, where or who you were teaching? And I didn't hear back from some emails. And then I ended up finding a program through a local person in Maine, Kelly Rich, who's like I love her so much. And she's been an amazing support and mentor for me. But she taught Reiki. I did Reiki 1, 2, and 3 with her and Master. And then she incorporated the intuitive piece, which was for me at face value when I started, just tuning in to yourself, grounding, probably similar to, like what I think of with yoga, like just really being in your body, understanding. And that also helps when first of all, the first step in being Reiki attuned is heal or heal thyself. So if you're in the wellness field and you're not, I would be a little wary working with anybody that's not doing the work or not showing their human side. Red flag for me. And I didn't think about it until you're in this field. So anyways, I did all the Reiki 1, 2, and 3, and I will say it wasn't all bunnies and rainbows. Because you're having to look at everything, and I got like crisis symptoms. I don't know if you're like aware with that, but like through the attunements, sometimes you can get like your body, your physical body sometimes is purging energy that's stagnant and needs to move. And if I'm considered, when the Reiki's not coming from me, I'm the conduit. So if I'm being attuned, then I need whatever is going to stop that from flowing through me to be gone. And it was not an easy process. And I think, having the label of Reiki Master to me, like I was like, Master, okay. But my teacher was she's so great. It just means I'm committed to learning. I'm committed to learning Reiki. I mean, it's not possible. It takes lifetimes sometimes to integrate all that we learn within Reiki. But when you see Reiki Master, I don't want you to be like, try to take the judgment back just a little bit, because it just means I'm committed to incorporating Reiki. It doesn't necessarily have to be out in the public. It can be just in my personal life. But that's a commitment I decided to make when I did it. And then through the Reiki work, I ended up connecting with spirit during Reiki sessions and things that so before I start a session, because my mind runs so much anyways, I sit down with a notepad. And again, I only do this if you sign up for a session with me, you're giving me permission to be in your energy. I'm not going to be jotting on a piece of paper for Sally, who I saw at the grocery store. That's not how I work. That's a boundary that I have within my work. It's also not cool to be seeping into other people's energy anyway, but that's besides the point. So I was doing a Reiki session and I started practicing after, because that's part of my training, was to kind of work with a few people and kind of gauge how that went. And I start writing down things I didn't understand. And so I have them on paper. So then when I do the energy reading or do the Reiki energy, I can chat, we can talk about the intention, and then we go from there. And then I share at the end kind of what I jotted down or what I picked up, and then anything through the session. And this client of mine was like, and when I'm doing it, I'm not realizing what I'm doing, because this is not, I don't know many people talk about this kind of like in between weird place where you're realizing your gifts. But it was literally like I'm writing down certain characteristics, and I'm seeing images, and I'm referencing a show with a character's name in it that had a connection to this person, and I'm mentioning an animal, and so I'm reading her this, and she's like, that's my dad. And this is a stone he wore as a ring. And this is an animal I saw the other day and thought maybe it'd be him. And it was like, so then I was like, okay, this is so much bigger than me. And this is exactly why I have to do the work for me, so that I can be this channel for that energy that brings these messages to people, that can bring peace or whatever. And again, there'll probably be a day where I deliver something that's not going to be received well, and I also have to be prepared for that. So that's my journey in a nutshell.
I know a lot of that is really vulnerable to share. But I also feel like there's so many, and you probably know this better than me, so many women and people out there who've lost, pregnancies, and I know that story like makes them feel like they are not so alone, because it's such a taboo thing really to talk about in most spaces.
Absolutely. And I had done a in-person support group before the whole world shut down, supporting an intimate group of women. And I will say that we don't ever forget. It doesn't matter how many years, and we don't ever forget the things and the ways that people didn't hold space for us, which almost adds to the grief, which is so sad. But I hope that the way that life is going is that we really start getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, because I've had so many people reach out to me knowing that I have done this kind of work, and say, what do I say to a friend? And this could go for any sort of death or with anyone, because I'll say the gravity of hurt for the child I lost felt like it was like my grandpa. Like if I can describe it to somebody who hasn't experienced it, it feels like a lifelong friend. And that might not make sense to people, but that's the only way I can try to equate the gravity of pain that's experienced for many women in all stages. And it is just a lot. So when people come to me and say, well, what can I say? What can I do? And I'm gonna say that the best thing to do is sit with that person. You don't have to have answers for them. The most supportive people in my life brought me food and let me cry and didn't tell me this was the plan or there must have been something wrong, or trying to kind of give me hope. I think the best thing to do, and I think we all know this, or maybe if we're not practicing this, the easiest way, I love that your cat's there. Totally. She feels the vibe. The easiest way, or he, sorry. The easiest way to move through pain is to sit with it. Okay? Which sucks. And I don't say it because I'm saying it's easy. I'm just saying that it's as simple as we don't have to have answers for people. If they're going through something really hard, just sit there. I think it's so, again, isolating to feel like if I'm on the phone with a family member and they're trying to tell me, this was all the will, I'm like, no, this doesn't seem fair to me, and I don't need you to tell me this was the plan. Like, nobody wants to hear that. So if you don't have space for that, if you feel like you're going to try to fix it for them, it's probably better that you're not in that space. And I'm just going to say that, because if you don't feel like you can make space for people, then it's probably not maybe your role. So you can write a card or send them a meal or get them support or some resources and say, hey, literally when I had my group facilitated and I was creating this space for mostly women, I did try to invite partners, because I'm not going to say for my experience, my husband suffered quite a bit. And I want to say there's not a lot of recognition for partners in this too. But every single person that came to my meeting wasn't anybody that sought it out. They were the ones, their friend or their family member saw it and said, hey, this looks like this would be super supportive for you. So I want us all to remember that when we are, and that goes for anything. You see anybody going through a hard time and say, here's a resource. I think this place would be a great place to, talk to somebody, or to learn more about it, even things like that, because that gives the person the opportunity to say yes or to say no. And I think we all need to respect each other's own power and not try to take it away and fix it for them, because that's disempowering for a person going through the trenches. So yeah, I'm comfortable with the uncomfortable in my own life. At times it's a challenge, but I also just feel like it's so hard to find people that can hold space for you, that I want to be that for others. So I also want to flex joy and happiness and all that, but I want that to feel like we have to rush to that part before, because I know from my personal life that rushing through, it's still there, it's still hanging out, and for whatever reason, birth and babies and bringing children into the world was what really made me face my stuff and continue to face my stuff. So
I have a couple of questions about like what you do as a postpartum doula. I've never had children or any pregnancies before, so I'm a bit ignorant in this realm. So one question that comes up after you just told your story is women who have experienced a miscarriage or a loss like that, is that something that a postpartum birth doula can support women in?
I mean, there are tons of postpartum, there's called death doulas too, that actually I'm very intrigued by. I feel like maybe that would be somewhere where I would kind of go. This kind of brings me into certificates and also feeling like I have to have all these certifications, but I have life experience in it. And I think that I don't give medical advice or anything like that. That's not the scope of my practice. As doulas too, we have things to uphold. But so yes, there are postpartum doulas or even birth doulas, I know, that can support people in those times. And like I said, there's specific death doulas that do that too. I incorporate it in my work because it means so much to me. But postpartum doulas, what they do is we learn like the nonverbal, obviously nonverbal and verbal because babies cry, but cues that, they're fascinating. Like fluttering of the eyes, whether their fist is open or shut. I mean, these are things all birthing people should be educated on. And I know for the future that this will be like the village, where this shouldn't be new information. This should be shared, and that's what doulas do now. And postpartum is so important. Because you're shifting, you're birthing a baby and you're birthing a new version of yourself, whether or not you're prepared for it. Your partnership is new, your identity is new, your baby is foreign, and you're like, I'm trying to figure this out. Who is this? Because every baby has its own personality. And so we also help with feeding, like bottle feeding, chest feeding, any way you want to feed your baby, we're there to support you. We do emotional support. We talk about boundary. Every doula is different. That's the thing too. So what I'm talking about might not be but generally speaking, we help you with family dynamics. If you have a family member that's very triggering, that wants to come over and just hold the baby, like sometimes we can be the point to help you kind of walk through that. Because family dynamics get crazy when you, I don't know what it is, hormonally, everybody shifts. We can help with sibling support, like just normalizing sleep and or lack of sleep, and connecting you to resources. So if something's like without like, if you have a medical question, we're not going to be able to really answer that for you, but we can say, okay, let's write it down because you're sleep deprived and you're tired. Let's kind of take all your thoughts and put them together, and let's reach out to your pediatrician, and here are the things, to ask. Or, I see, some of these things, like you're having some symptoms and you should, reach out for a resource here, there, everywhere. Birth story processing. I mean, literally just holding space. It is like, I don't want to toot all the doula's horns, but we are like we're like little fairies. Little fairies that come. Oh, and like I'm talking more like, because I'm only offering virtual, which I can go into a little bit more, but in person, we, some doulas have a specialty of making meals or prepping food, because when baby eats, that birthing person should eat. Water, tidying up, folding laundry. Like I remember sitting on the couch, you should be resting as much as you can. You're sitting with your newborn baby, you're looking at like everything, and you're like, I need a snack. I need, like, for whatever reason, you latch onto like your room being vacuumed. Like doulas can do that. Doulas can, within, everybody's got their scope and their boundaries and work. Connecting with a puppy or a cat that's like, who is this crying thing in the corner? Like, we can give you tips on how to integrate all family members. It's like, doula work is the best. And I don't think you can go wrong with the right doula that feels right for you. Not every doula, it's like dating. You want to find the person that feels like can hold the space for you, that can connect with you where you feel safe, where your partner feels safe. And because it's a very intimate time to be going into somebody's home. And unfortunately, the way that society is right now, the support is just oddly like, I want to come in and hold your baby. Okay. And that's not what new parents need. New parents want their trash taken out, or they want a meal made for them, or they want you to walk their dog, or they want you to just sit there and ask how, not the baby's doing, how is the parent, how's dad, mom, how are you doing? That recognition, because it's wild and it's overwhelming and hard. And so that's what doulas do. And I offer virtual right now, which I feel like is great, because cost can sometimes be a barrier for a lot of people, although there are a lot of doulas that work sliding scale, that have programs and payment plans. And the virtual work I do can be so supportive, because it's affordable. We can just do a one-time meeting and connect, and then I send a follow-up email with resources for you, maybe a treat, like a little playlist, like ways to ground and center, and chatting with your partner and kind of letting them be the doula in the house, like kind of giving them tips on how to support you. And so virtual work is kind of becoming, especially through the pandemic, was becoming more consistent. And with my lifestyle right now, it makes more sense for me to be doing virtual work at the moment. But it's more accessible. That means anywhere you live, we can connect. And like I said, sometimes I'll go into a home and it's not all we do, but I'm saying like all that person needs is space held for them to process. And so it doesn't have to be bigger than that. And sometimes I know a lot of doulas walk out and they're like, well, all I did was talk. And guess what? All that person needed that day was that. So I offer virtual for that. And then like I said, the miscarriage, stillbirth, if you're even pregnant after loss, postpartum pregnant people, I kind of incorporated Reiki energy work in with that, in that I offer, distance healing for those particular people, because I think that needs a space as well. I think we celebrate birth so much, but let's really hold space for, we're all going to encounter somebody that has experienced loss. And if we don't know outwardly, I guarantee you there are women or family members within your system that have lost kids that have maybe never said it. So it's like we all, like with the way that our culture's moving and society, we all have to teach our kids that sad things happen and that we lose people and babies and things, so that our kids can come out being like so supportive and little professional space holders and have really clear boundaries. Don't you feel like, I feel like if I'm doing this work and I can have candid conversations, age appropriate, with my children about, hey, my friend did lose a baby, and that's only going to benefit society as a whole.
That people feel they need to the secret of how people might react or not getting what they need in return.
Right, and just grief in general. Like, why are we putting timelines on people? I had people come to me and say, my family's not sure why I'm not over it. Why is that any of your business? That's nobody. I'm sure we all grieve things that happen in our childhood, like to this day, where it's like, like that's grief. Like grief is everywhere. So please, I don't want to put judgments on people, because I feel like once you're aware of maybe a role you've played in somebody's life where you've tried to rush them along, that's where you can change and do better. And I don't want to shame anybody into feeling like everybody's done wrong, but I'll say like this is a whole outwardly bigger problem. And I feel like when I speak, I'm speaking on behalf of so many people that feel invisible, I didn't ever want to have to, I felt at times, and I feel lucky enough in a way to have had a death certificate for my child, because I felt like, is that the only way somebody's going to know I have been suffering? And that's how so many people feel. Like, do I have to have something tangible to show you the pain that I've had? And that's just not fair. Like, why are families scraping to prove it? So anyways, my whole work has encompassed kind of taking my own grief and my own hardships and just creating offerings that feel good for me at this time. And I don't think I'll ever, I'm excited to see what the future holds, but this kind of work feels like so necessary. And again, like the death doulas and the women coming in and the grief workers, we need all of that, So sure. So you can find me at hannahcarbonneau.com. And right now, the best way to stay connected with me is to sign up for my newsletter. It's kind of when you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll be able to sign up. I put out limited availability month to month. So it's a good idea to sign up for that newsletter, because I'm going to start kind of incorporating maybe a meditation, maybe a card pull, maybe a playlist, kind of whatever I'm intuitively called to share throughout my newsletter, just to help you take care of yourself for those few minutes. I know that a lot of us are trying to get off social media and be really social in real life. And so email feels like, you know, honoring a boundary of not always being on here, but also being able to go in your inbox when you're available for it. I have postpartum doula virtual sessions available. I have Reiki distance healings. They're called prism sessions. So if you didn't really want to, if you weren't available to kind of tap in intuitively for like an intuitive reading, you would just do the distance Reiki healing with me, distance energy healing. If you wanted to dive a little bit deeper, then I would suggest signing up for a prism session. That's a little bit more in depth and more of an intuitive reading / energy healing. I mean, I offer animal energy healings. I offer, right now, for affordable, I do a intuitive reading, like 3-card oracle or tarot deck reading. I think that's $55. So if you just kind of wanted to get to know me through that or my newsletter, I feel like all of that would be the best ways. And just like go into my page and just see, like I say on there, it's like, if you have a nudge to work with me, like get curious and you can get to know me through my newsletter or follow me on Instagram. Or, you know, email me with any questions you might have, or, you know, again, I'm happy to help supply a resource for you. 'Cause even though I have all this work, I would be wary for somebody that came to me to, like, they were just seeing me. So I want to work with people that kind of want a team, you know, that we're not all meant to do it on. I'm not the end all be all. And I want to be just like a little piece and hand holding for you through your process. And so, yeah, you can find me at hannacarbonneau.com. Thank you.
The whole space and to knowledge and process with us.
Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to watching your future Yoga Corner chats, because I think it's, again, so great to just share everybody's essence and support each other all along the way. So for anybody watching the replay, you know, thank you for having me. All right.